This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. Today is Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Your Binghamton Now program is on the air. Feel free to call in and contribute on the issue 607-772-1290. WNBF. And we welcome you to our broadcast. If you're new to the program, we do it every weekday morning from 9 to noon. Concept is Binghamton and beyond. We can talk about Binghamton-related issues, or we could talk about stuff around the world. There are no real limits, just the limits of your imagination. So go ahead and call 607-772-1290 and be part of the program. We encourage you to stick to the issues. If you are not part of the Stick to the Issue crowd, you can call in to Dan Bongino from noon to 3, or Sean Hannity from 3 to 6, or even Mark Levin from 6 to 9. They'll handle calls from people who don't want to stick to the issues. This program, on the other hand, will be laser focused on the issues of greatest concern to you and other Americans. As we take to the air this morning, it is my honor and privilege to report that the state of Binghamton, New York is excellent. I have been in various parts of our fine city already this morning. On the west side, and the north side, and the east side. The only side of Binghamton that I was unable to get to this morning was the south side. I'll probably make it to the south side tomorrow. That is the plan. And praise continues to come in for the Rod Serling statue at Rec Park on the west side. A lot of people have had the opportunity to see the statue in person near the intersection of Laurel Avenue and Seminary Avenue. And many, many, many more, hundreds of thousands, millions, have actually viewed the statue online, both some of the images and videos. So, and most of the comments I've read from those who've seen it online have been extremely positive. So if you like to weigh in on that statue, on its design, some people have weighed in about the quote that's on the base. Some people would like greater context for what Rod Serling said about his hometown, and Binghamton is his hometown, or was his hometown. Some people think just that short part of his total quote is insufficient. I, on the other hand, think it's fine. I think it's sufficient. May prompt some people to do a search and learn more of the context, because the quote taken in context, I think, is even more powerful. But I think it works nicely. So if you've had a chance to see the Serling statue, perhaps you were there on Sunday for the dedication event, or maybe you've only had a chance to see it through pictures online, or maybe video. I'd like to know what you think. Myself, I think it's marvelous. I don't think I would do anything to change it. It's 9:14 at WNBF, WNBF.com. Of course, we have a story about it on WNBF.com, the website. You can also follow us on Twitter. Even on a routine Tuesday morning, sometimes you'll see a story. It may not turn into an article at the website, but you might see sort of breaking news similar to this morning. There was a vehicle crash on Court Street on Binghamton's east side. about an hour ago. There were no injuries reported, but traffic on Court Street, westbound traffic, was detoured for a time around that crash scene. In case you were wondering what's that all about, you can see the video from the scene. The crash actually happened at the intersection of Court Street and Riverside Street, near the McDonald's entrance and the Burger King entrance, just across the street. Again, nobody was hurt, but did tie up traffic, or at least required a detour of westbound traffic on Court Street for a time until they were able to tow a damaged Toyota SUV away from the scene. That Toyota wound up on its side, but again, no reports of injuries. It's 9:15 WNBF. We're here covering the news. What a quaint notion that in 2024 there is actually someone who goes out and covers the news. Sometimes people come into Binghamton and they're shocked. What? A reporter? I didn't know there were any reporters, any local news reporters left. I say, well, in Binghamton, they haven't managed to run us all out of town yet. Also, at WNBF.com, in case you haven't checked it out yet, you can see the latest on the big renovation project at Northgate Plaza in the town of Shenango. It's on Upper Front Street, and workers arrived at the plaza on Monday, and shortly after the workers arrived, then WNBF News arrived to document the start of that project, which we reported on last July. So with WNBF News, you're often in the loop. 607-772-1290 if you have any thoughts about local stuff or even national stuff. I know a lot of people seem to be preoccupied these days by all the national goodness, because there is a limited time left for campaigning. In fact, early voting will start before you know it, and then that's when the fun begins. After the early voting is underway, that's when people really look for big surprises. Big surprises. Regarding the shocking event in Florida, President Biden has condemned the actions of a person who seems to be misguided and probably troubled. Joe Biden said Americans should settle their differences at the ballot box.
No place in political violence in America. None. Zero. Never.
He also expressed appreciation for the work of members of the Secret Service who oftentimes have been criticized for the efforts they do to provide a high level of protection.
I commend the Secret Service for the expert handling of the situation. And the former president is protected from harm, and the subject is in custody.
And Joe Biden, the guy from Scranton, pointed out, as he has frequently in the past, political violence has no place in the United States of America.
America suffered too many times the tragedy of an assassin's bullet. It solves nothing and just tears the country apart. We must do everything we can to prevent it and never give it any oxygen.
He said it. President Biden said it loud and clear. We must do everything we can to prevent political violence. So that is the mission. Everybody will join together now to prevent political violence. America has suffered too many times from past tragedies. So every American will be recommitted to prevent further political violence. If you have any concerns regarding political candidates, you have an ideal opportunity to express yourself by voting. So vote. Don't sit this one out. It's 9:20. You're listening to Binghamton Now, live on this Tuesday morning, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Remember, you can stay connected with WNBF and Binghamton Now using the free WNBF app. We're joined now by Karen Sweet O'Neill. This live preview is sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Great. This is the final Tuesday of summer.
Is it?
It is.
Oh, that's right. When does summer end?
In a few days.
As Dave Rossi says when that school bus comes down.
Yeah, Dave Rossi. I love that. I wish he was still around. He was one of Binghamton's nicest guys and best writers.
Agreed.
And that column.
Yeah, every year I read that column and it still gives me like goosebumps.
It is. It's, I think it wasn't a long column, but it certainly was a masterpiece.
It was.
And the thing is, I mean, as Rossi's writings go, it wasn't anything necessarily out of the ordinary. I mean, he wrote that way consistently over the decades, and it just so happened that this particular column at the start of the school year resonated with so many people, with parents and teachers, and I think almost everybody. Probably even kids who could read it were moved if they were teenagers or maybe even younger. They could read it and take away something very, very important from that short column. And here we are, so many decades later, talking about it. That will live forever.
Right? Which is what good writing does.
Absolutely. So what do you have for us for tomorrow's installment, the big extravaganza every Wednesday morning that we bring people for? I think it's an educational and informational segment, so people have some of the information they need to make the right decisions.
Absolutely, that's what we strive for, Bob. And tomorrow we're going to talk about what happens if all of a sudden you say, I'm not as set up properly as I want to be, if I should no longer be here, in the form of I don't have any life insurance. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to have $1 million of life insurance. But even for a situation, obviously, death costs money. Everything costs money, Bob, and dying costs money as well. So what do you do if you are in an accident or an illness and that prohibits you from getting life insurance because the insurance company, let's face it, they want good risk. So what do you do? Are you just out of luck? Have you gone to get regular life insurance and been declined? What do you do then? You're along the same scenario. Well, the good news is there's certainly something that you can partake of as far as from a protection standpoint with a guaranteed issue policy. And we're going to talk about how those work in New York and what the restrictions are on them, because, of course, there's always restrictions, Bob. But overall, it's a very it's a safeguard for people that just haven't had the insurance, or they tried to get it and they couldn't, and it doesn't increase in premium and it doesn't decrease in death benefit. But we're going to go over how it works and what your limits are and how much it can cost you. And, of course, it's dependent on age. It is not dependent on health because there are no health questions. So, and a lot of people will say, oh, wow, I saw that on TV. with AARP, and they have a guaranteed issue that's underwritten by New York Life, and that's one of the companies in New York that will do that. So we'll talk about that tomorrow so that people say, well, maybe I can afford it and just make sure my family doesn't have to pay for me in the event I'm no longer here. We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway East, up above Plato's Closet in Style Encore. We're one level. You drive right up to us. You can reach us several ways for an appointment. You can simply give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can Google us at KSO Insurance, and all our contact information will come up, including our website, and you can make an appointment that way. Or if you missed the phone number, we have a big display ad under insurance in the Yellow Pages.
And we will talk tomorrow morning around 9:20.
Very good. Have a good day, Bob. Thanks.
Thank you. It's 9:27 at WNBF and WNBF.com. With Bob Joseph, it's live and local. It's widely regarded as one of the very best programs on WNBF. Highly acclaimed by many WNBF listeners, whether they're listening at AM 1290 or 92.1 FM. Many people agree. It certainly contains a lot of words every day. Very wordy at times. And that's the whole point of a talk show, bringing you the word. And you're welcome to join us. 607-772-1290. We'll talk to some people. Maybe. I make no promises. We may talk with some people today. There are no promises, no guarantees. No guarantees in life. One thing we can tell you, though, is the weather seems nice. Looks like we're in for a very decent day today. Partly sunny, high 82. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Sure, they're guaranteed, Bob. We pay our taxes and Trump will win. Dave from Vestal.
I'm David from Vestal. Good morning. How are things in Vestal?
Well, hasn't changed much, Bob.
I hear great things are going on in the town of Vestal. That's what I'm hearing.
Great things, huh?
Only the greatest.
Yeah. Well, boy, I wish I heard that good news, Bob. I haven't heard that.
Why? What have you heard?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, if that's what you're hearing, then it means everything is fine.
Not true, Bob.
No reason to worry. Everything is fine. Obviously, if everything wasn't fine, you would be hearing some scuttlebutt and rumors.
Oh, so you're one of those guys that believe that no news is good news.
Yeah, no news is good news. That's why the people from the town of Vestal don't come on the program anymore. Every other community in Broome County has people who come on the program, except for Vestal, because everything is fine.
I know it's a shame, too, Bob. They all should. They owe it to us.
They don't owe you a darn thing, Dave. Just pay your taxes and be quiet. Pay those taxes. Pay those big property tax bills. And stop whining. Not you particularly. Some of the people complaining about taxes in Vestal, I'm sure the theory is on the part of town of Vestal officials is stop whining. Just pay your taxes quickly. We need the cash.
But, Bob, do you believe that vote really happened? Do you really believe that the town voted to remove that, what was it, 1.5% or 2%? We were stuck.
I don't know. I don't go to town board meetings. I can't tell you. We don't have enough staffers. We don't have a Vestal bureau. So we don't have people who are capable of covering the town of Vestal. And certainly Vestal residents who go to the board meetings don't bother calling. That's why, despite the high taxes and all the good times that are happening in the town of Vestal, I come to the conclusion everything is just fine.
I just can't picture the meeting, Bob, that people over there is drooling. Wait, we want to pay more. Come on.
I think they should put their meetings on YouTube, like many American communities. You know, this is no longer the 20th century. Put all your meetings, your town board meetings, your work sessions, planning board meetings, put them all, stream them live, and then put them all on YouTube so people can see what's really going on. If you don't, people will come to a conclusion that you're not very transparent.
I agree, Bob. They should do that.
But you know, the reason they can't is because it would cost money and because the technology is too confusing. But it's funny, you look at small towns and villages around the United States, even in other countries, and somehow they manage to put together enough money and have enough unconfused people to live stream all their meetings and then archive them on YouTube. For some reason, it's not impossible for those governments, but obviously in the town of Vestal, it's too costly and too confusing to be able to both live stream your meetings and then put them on YouTubes.
Love your sarcasm. We know it's not too confusing. They just don't want to do it.
Well, wait. Are they on YouTubes? Did they put the meetings archived on YouTubes?
I thought once she won, she said she was going to do that, Bob.
Yeah. Maybe that was somebody else, but yeah, it sounds familiar. Lordy, I hope they're tapes.
Well, hey, Bob. Well, real quick to what I was listening to you earlier, and I heard you talking about voting, and you said, "Do not sit this one out." And it reminds me, Gary from the West Side yesterday. Remember, he said he won't vote for either one, and I got to thinking, Bob. The more people sit out, I think a lot more will sit out now that RFK dropped out because.
Oh wait, hold on. While I'm thinking about it, I just punched up. Vestal has some meetings on YouTube. Hold on.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. I stand corrected. Mm-hmm. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me push this button because I just checked. The town of Vestal, New York, on their YouTube channel, posted the last meeting is town board meeting August 28th. Let's just push the button to see if it works. Yep, I see people moving.
Good evening. And thank you for coming to the meeting this evening. Yeah.
All right, I was wrong.
You stand corrected.
I stand corrected. I made an error. I apologize to the town supervisor and town board members and to every Vestal resident for falsely suggesting on the radio program just moments ago that they are not archiving the board meetings. Let me just play a little bit more. This serves as official proof that the host was totally incorrect. Not intentionally, as some people would suggest, but unintentionally, I made an error. Let's just listen to a bit more. This is the August 28th meeting that appears on Vestal's YouTube channel.
Please rise for the pledge to the flag.
All right. So even the audio sounds good.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Bob, they're not confused with technology.
No, I stand corrected. So everything I said... Everything, the rant. Delete the rant. We need to take the rant out of the West Coast feed. I don't know what we'll put in instead. Maybe we'll put the first 5 minutes of Inagata Davida to fill the 5 minutes where the erroneous rant was. So anyway, that's not why you called. What's really on your mind? I mean, you're really concerned about something I said about voting.
Yeah, right. Well, it just it got me thinking, Bob. When you said do not sit this one out, I'm afraid, Bob. There's many millions out there that are going to sit it out because they really don't want to vote for either one. And by doing that, Bob, that gives the advantage to Trump. Doesn't that make you happy?
I'm ecstatic. Oh, no, that's just because I'm listening to AM instead of FM. Okay, I'm switching over to FM. No ecstatic. Okay, continue.
I think RFK Jr., it gave them someone else to look at, Bob. And even if he didn't have a chance to win, they were going to go through the motions and just pull the lever for him, just so they would feel good. Not voting for the other two. But by him dropping out, I think it's going to affect the race where people are going to stay home. And you're going to see Trump winning.
I think you're right. I think you're onto something. I think Donald Trump will coast in, and instead of losing by more than 8 million votes, he's liable to win by more than 8 million. Thanks to RFK Jr. bowing out. So it's definitely a positive thing for the Republicans.
Yeah, lower turnouts help them. You know that, Bob. Historically, lower turnouts.
I know. That's why Republicans historically have worked to suppress the vote. They try to discourage Democrats. I wouldn't be surprised that Republicans will put out a flyer, not in New York, of course, because they wouldn't do it here, but say in some states where, say Pennsylvania or Ohio, where the electoral votes are really important, Republicans might put out flyers that say, be sure to vote on Wednesday, November 6th. And just put those flyers out in neighborhoods that are predominantly Democrat. So a lot of the low information voters who are Democrats will be like, oh, that's right. I remember my mom said they were changing election day to Wednesday starting this year. Wouldn't that be, by the way, obviously, I'm joking about that. Somebody's going to take it seriously, and then I'll get a call from Hannity. Bob, did you say on your radio program this morning at 9:37 that Republicans in some key battleground states would put out flyers trying to confuse low-information Democrat voters about the real date of Election Day? And then I'd have to confess to Hannity and say, yeah, Sean, I'm sorry. I won't do it again until tomorrow.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were lines all over the place, Bob, because
I hope there are. I hope there are lines.
Okay, man, I just want to...
All right, thank you. And again, just to clear up any confusion or misinformation from the liberal media, whatever you may have heard about the town of Vestal not archiving their town board meetings, that was clearly fake news. So apologies on behalf of your former host. At this point, I must step aside and maybe I'll be unpaid leave for the next 3 months.
Country's used to fake news, Bob. Don't worry about it.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Bob.
It's 9:39 WNBF. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Matt.
No, from Binghamton. Good morning, Matthew. Wasn't that sad? I was just going to say, you should have said, geez, Bob, why don't you curb your enthusiasm? Gee, it sounds like somebody left the Canadian bacon off your Egg McMuffin. It's like, yeah, I got stuck with.
Okay, I'm done. Goodbye. No.
It's on your mind.
No, I just, talking about voting and who's going to vote. I think what people should really recognize is that for quite a long time now, and really going back to 2000 when Jeb Bush purged all the polls, all the voting registration of anybody had a name like a felon in Florida, and 19,000 people who weren't felons were prevented from voting, and thus we got George Bush. That ever since then, that's been their playbook, and there's been hundreds of bills that are passed by Republicans this year across the country to restrict people from voting. And Democrats are fighting them right now, and they're still trying right up to even to when voting's just about to start, Republicans. There's plenty of evidence of that. And so what are they afraid of? They know they can't win unless they cheat or prevent people from voting. And so that's where we're at in this country. And so to put anything on the Democrats about voting when there's no evidence of illegals voting, there's no evidence of, anybody voting illegally, I shouldn't say no evidence, but very.
Oh, that's very, right. Yeah. Be precise.
Few cases.
Right.
Very few cases.
As an officer of the court, understand, you need to use precise language, because when you say no, never say never. Sure.
We're talking about a handful of cases.
Yeah. Out of a country of 300 million people. So, yeah, it's not as though it's widespread. There are occasional, I bet, although I have no proof, but I bet at least at one point over the last 50 years, there's been at least one case of voter fraud in Broome County. I can't point to that case, but I bet there's been at least one case over the last 50 years. I mean, it's inevitable.
And maybe it was in the city council race last year. Then
people are saying, Bob, you gave him an opening and he drove right through it. Yes. No, there's no evidence of that. It ended up fairly.
But I'm saying every vote should count. Everybody who wants to vote, and they're doing the same thing they did in Florida. They are purging the rolls of people who haven't voted in a while, or people. There's all sorts of efforts across the country to do everything they can. In fact, there was a Pennsylvania ruling yesterday, about ballots. If you don't, I forget what it is, if you don't date it when you send it in, there was one court that said, And now,
in my estimation, Matt, and this is just a personal opinion, I find that Pennsylvania law to be absurd on its face.
Exactly. So, but a lower court said it was ridiculous, and a higher court than that said, nope, if any vote that comes in that doesn't have the date on it properly, it's not going to be counted. So I don't know where that'll end up.
Well, if it ends up eventually at the U.S. Supreme Court, you know how it'll go.
Exactly. That's what I'm afraid.
I mean, fortunately, for Republicans, the court has now has a sufficient number of justices appointed by Republicans. So, yeah, it's most likely going to go in the Republicans' favor if Clarence Thomas has anything. Clarence Thomas, for a man who doesn't say much as a justice, he is perhaps the most powerful, the single most powerful judicial force in the world right now is Clarence Thomas, because he is so widely respected by his colleagues on the court.
But that's why certain justices admit they go back in their chambers and after meeting together and literally cry because it's so bad.
Clarence Thomas, what can you say? What can you say? I'll say this, after he retires from the court and writes his book, that means he'll finally be available for interviews. And at that point, when he's selling his book, I certainly hope we can get him on the program so I could ask him a few questions.
He's going to go, if he ever retires, he's going to go off into the sunset and he won't be heard from because he can't stand the scrutiny that will be put to him if he's questioned. Because right now he's in a position where he doesn't have to answer any questions because of the lack of any integrity in the ethics laws for rules for Supreme Court justices, and he's flourished in that atmosphere and gotten very wealthy because of it.
Well, he always seems, every time I see him, he seems to have a smile on his face, so something is certainly making him happy.
Well, he basically made a not so veiled threat to quit because he was upset with how little money he was making, and that's when all those guys got together, Leonard Leo and all those people got together and put together all the billion, then got that over $1 billion from the wealthy Republican who died, and they created the world we have now. And just think about it. Just think what they did. The other reason we have the Supreme Court we have is because they wouldn't let Obama do his appointment, and that was a year. That was a year.
Oh yeah, before. No, that was deplorable. By the way, just for those who wonder how an associate justice could possibly scrape by the base pay for an associate justice, if you're one of the 8 Supremes, not the most Supreme, but if you're just one of the 8 other supporting cast members on the Supreme Court, The pay this year is $274,200. So I understand if you're living in D.C. or in Maryland or Virginia, that's not much money to be able to scrape by on. So in that context, you could understand why Clarence Thomas and his wife would probably want some more cash.
Well,
but then who doesn't? I'm not criticizing them, because who doesn't, right, Matt?
I don't disagree that they maybe should put it up to maybe $500,000 so that
I would say at least 500. I just looked that up now.
And then maybe that's what they did with New York State.
I would go this far. I would go even further, Matthew, to show my support for the Supreme Court justices. I would say, effective January 1st, boost the pay of all the associate justices from $274,000. Boost it to $1 million a year, and then for the Chief Justice, boost it to $2 million, because these are very important people. And I do believe that because they're so vital to this country's legal system, I don't think paying them, the Associate Justices, $1 million a year and the Chief Justice $2 million a year, I don't think that's too much. I mean, they're, given.
Well, then you're paying.
What's that?
Then you're paying them more than the president makes. But
yes, and so the president, by the way, look, if Elon Musk can be paid $55 billion for being the head of the Tesla organization, I think that's what they agreed to pay him, $55 billion. Then I think the president of the United States deserves at least $10 million. I mean, the president, I think, now is being paid $400,000. That's ridiculous.
By the way, what happened to public service?
Oh, come on, man. Don't derail the conversation by talking about public service. It's all about the money. And I'm telling you, if they're still paying the president of the United States only $400,000, that goes a long way to explain the level of competency of the candidates we've gotten over the last 20 or 30 years, right? The pay, if it is $400,000 now, and I think it is, that's ridiculous. That's an outrage.
Well,
how can you possibly get?
A lot of things we could.
How can you possibly get really good candidates for president if you're only willing to pay them less than $500,000 a year?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people that make a lot less than that would love to be president. So,
yeah, but we wouldn't want them to be president.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I wonder how much Kamala Harris is making, or Tim is making.
Well, I know she's making more now than when she was making McFlurries and Big Macs. So, and justifiably so, because she is certainly one of the best presidential candidates in the history of this nation. Anyway, appreciate your call. Thank you. We're going to take a few more calls this morning, possibly. So stay tuned, because you never know on this program what's going to happen next. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. We were talking about money, and the President of the United States is paid $400,000 a year and $50,000 as part of an expense allowance. So as I said, that's inadequate. You have to pay a reasonable amount of money to get quality. So $400,000 a year and a $50,000 expense allowance, that's embarrassing. If that's the best this country can do, well, let's face it, it's not the best we can do. So at least $10 million for president. The Supreme Court associate justices, $1 million. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, at least $2 million. At least, even those pay levels are insufficient, but at least start to improve things. Especially this Elon Musk pay package. This CBS story from last month says Tesla shareholders approved a $46 billion pay package for Elon Musk. It says in the history of U.S. corporate pay packages, there have been a lot of big payouts worth almost $1 billion in today's dollars, but nothing comes close to the $46 billion pay deal that Tesla shareholders have just given to the world famous Elon Musk. Everybody loves the guy. So he's getting $46 billion for his pay package, and the United States is paying the president $400,000 and a $50,000 expense allowance. For some reason, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right. Pay people something closer to what they're really worth. And I don't know what the president really is worth, but he's worth a lot more than $400,000 or $450,000. Let's get the pay at a point where it's at least approaching realistic. It's 9:54 at WNBF, WNBF.com. 607-772-1290 is our number. Weather continues to be beautiful. Beautiful for the Binghamton area. Partly sunny today, high 80. Partly cloudy tonight, low 57. Tomorrow, partly sunny, still nice, high 78. Even Thursday, partly sunny, high 79. Now, this is weird. I'm looking at a forecast here, and I swear there was a kid on TV who said that we were going to get some rain. But I'm looking at the forecast right now from the National Weather Service, and there is no mention of rain in the forecast all the way through next Monday. Now, I don't know. I'm sure somewhere in the Binghamton area between now and next Monday we'll wind up getting a little rain. But at least right now, the forecast is rain-free. So we've had a really long string of beautiful weather. I'd say this is the best weather we've experienced all summer. We're now in the final few days of summer, and it looks great. So, yeah, Friday, mostly sunny. Saturday, mostly sunny. Same for Sunday and Monday. So, at this point, the forecast sounds almost too good to be true. Right now, it's 57 in downtown Binghamton. That's 14 Celsius. And air quality is good this morning. Air quality index for Binghamton is 43, so that's in the good range. Coming up later today on WNBF, we have more information and opinion with our usual lineup, the powerful lineup. Dan Bongino from noon to 3. Sean Hannity from 3 to 6. Mark Levin will be on from 6 to 9. One thing I can guarantee you, Dan Bongino will have more theories to promulgate on his program today. So if you're in the market for more theories about anything that's happened, plus theories about anything that will happen between now and November 5th, Dan Bongino will supply you with all the theories you can imagine and then some. Because he has sources. He has sources, in the Department of Theory. So be sure to tune in right after this program today for Dan Bongino right here on News Radio, WNBF, and WNBF.com. We're joined in the studio now by Jason Davis with the Veterans Outreach Program Specialist with the Binghamton Vet Center here in downtown Binghamton. Jason, welcome to Binghamton Now.
Thanks for having me, Bob. It's a pleasure.
It's about time we had you on the program. We were just talking about it's been a few years since you did an interview with for one of our other programs, but this is the first time that you've been on this program.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Thank you for having me again.
Well, it's great. Tell us a little bit about the Binghamton Vet Center. For people not familiar, it's located at the corner of Shenango and Henry Streets, 53 Shenango Street in the Center Plaza building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like to start off a little bit kind of explaining what the Vet Center is and how it kind of falls in with the grand scheme of things in the Binghamton area. So, most veterans and families of veterans are probably familiar with the outpatient clinic located at 203 Court Street. They provide medical services for veterans, the healthcare aspect of it. There's also 44 Holly Street, the county office building where the benefits office is located. Our center, we primarily focus on readjustment counseling for service members, veterans, and their families after they get back from a deployment. I'll talk a little bit about eligibility in a minute, but we do often get confused with a veterinarian, so I do get calls to neuter animals and things like that occasionally. But I do like to kind of start off a little bit, talking a little bit about what the Vet Center is. In 1979, Congress realized that a lot of the Vietnam vets that were coming back were experiencing readjustment issues. So they created the Vet Center program to provide readjustment counseling for those veterans. In 1991, after the Persian Gulf War, they realized that there's more veterans that are coming home from these conflicts that are experiencing PTSD, readjustment, just finding difficulty finding their place in the community when they come home. So after the Gulf War, with hostilities such as Grenada, Lebanon, Panama, Somalia, Kosovo, we just kept expanding our eligibility. And in 1996, they expanded eligibility retroactively to World War II and Korea veterans. And then in 2003, as a result of the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts, they expanded eligibility to what we call GWA, or Gulf War on Terror veterans, and also to bereavement for basically those families that have lost their veterans on active duty. More recently, we expanded eligibility to combat support roles such as drone operators, medical support staff, also victims of military sexual trauma. We also see National Guard and Reserve now, and with the passing of the Strong Act in 2022, we now see student veterans that are accessing VA educational benefits and families that are surviving veterans that have completed suicide.
So it's a wide array of services that are being offered right now from the downtown Binghamton office.
Absolutely. We do a lot of clinical counseling. We have social programs for veterans to, get together and just kind of, bond and see that they're not alone. We have groups and things like that. We have a number of different groups. We're one of over 300 vet centers that are actually funded by the VA. And there's 80 mobile vet centers that actually go their RVs outfitted to provide counseling in the community, spread out throughout the country. Locally, we have one in Rochester and in Watertown. But yeah, we're able to take those out in the areas that are not, maybe more rural areas that maybe some veterans aren't able to access VA services. So we're able to do outreach with those mobile vet centers. We just recently went through a branding process, new branding, and the 3 C's of a vet center are connection, camaraderie, and community. We really try to focus on those 3 C's. Connection not just to vet center services that we have at our center, but also to maybe some services that are provided within the community that veterans can access, such as, employment assistance, help getting enrolled in school, healthcare, things of that nature. The second C is camaraderie. We provide tons of camaraderie. 80% of our staff are veterans themselves. So when they're coming to get those counseling services, they're actually talking to another veteran, which kind of helps because it's relatable, right? We have a lot of social groups that we run. I'm a veteran myself. On Mondays I run a hiking group that we have veterans that come out as part of Team Red, White, and Blue. It's kind of a partnership that we've built over the years. And it's kind of cool. We all go out, we put some rucks on, and we hike and just have really good conversations. And it's that bonding just to kind of help combat that isolation that veterans might feel when they come back,
So it provides the connections that perhaps people after their time in the service may feel they've lost that connection. Sort of restores a connection, and you're able to actually talk with people who understand.
Yeah.
Because for people who haven't served, it's you may be able to listen, you may be able to read a lot, and so you get some sense of what it's like, but you can't fully appreciate what service personnel have actually gone through unless you've experienced the same type of thing.
Absolutely. So, for example, you'll have some veterans maybe talking about how they go to Wegmans on a Sunday and there's so much going on and it triggers their PTSD because they're hypervigilant all the time. When you have PTSD from combat, you're always scanning the area for threats. It's just ingrained in your brain. It's part of PTSD if you read the symptoms. But so you have some veterans maybe talking about that experience, like when I go to Wegmans, how do I cope with PTSD? What are some things that I do to maybe help me get through that situation? So that's what's really advantageous about our social groups is that you have veterans that live locally that maybe are in certain scenarios or situations that they can kind of help each other navigate those things. So
how long have you been with the Binghamton Vet Center?
I've been with the Binghamton Vet Center for 14 years. I've loved every second of it. It's really good to get out and help other veterans Just because, when I got back from Iraq in 2003 and kind of went through all of that. And I'm openly sharing my story with readjustment. I realized that I had PTSD. And
how difficult was that to go from serving in Iraq to returning to United States? Because even for a short time in the service, things are constantly changing. Then, so you're away in a completely different environment. Then you return to, I'll use air quotes, a so-called normal life. Mm-hmm. And after your time in the service, the adjustment for everyone has to be tough. And I would suggest that it's probably unique for every man or woman, the challenges that they face. How challenging was it for you?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different challenges. For example, driving just in traffic, or in the inner city, is a trigger for a lot of veterans. Loud noises.
I know because we've talked with some veterans who have called in if they hear fireworks, whether it's at after the ball games or around the 4th of July or whenever during the year. Fireworks, even if they know that a fireworks show is scheduled, or in some cases they have no idea that one is scheduled, or other loud noises, even things like a vehicle backfiring can pose some problems for some people.
Absolutely, that's a trigger. When you're in a combat zone and you automatically you get engaged by the enemy, or you hit a roadside bomb or something, it's very unexpected. Change in situation and tempo. So when something like fireworks happen unexpectedly, it triggers that fight or flight mechanism in a veteran, and it creates panic attacks, anxiety. It's different with every person, and every type of trauma. It's not just PTSD. Just doesn't come from combat. It can come from anything. So yeah. And just kind of go back to the 3 C's. The last C is community. The Vet Center is embedded in the community. We work very closely with our partner agencies in the community. For example, one of them being the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group. They've done a great work for our local veterans and helping them with unmet needs. We work with our local New York State Division of Veteran Services Office, Broome County Veteran Service Office. We work fairly closely with our VA counterparts. And I really think that if a veteran comes to us, and maybe we might not be able to help them with counseling, because maybe they're not maybe they don't meet our eligibility, we can see them up to 4 visits and get them connected with our local partnerships in the community and get them the help that they need. So I always tell people, even if you're not a combat veteran, even if you haven't suffered from, let's say, military sexual trauma or anything like that, still come to the Vet Center. Give me a call at the center. We will get you connected with whatever you may need. I don't ever like to turn veterans away.
It's 10:20. We're talking with Jason Davis of the Binghamton Vet Center here on WNBF. One of the ongoing concerns for veterans is the matter of homelessness, and there are far too many veterans in our community who are facing this issue, and certainly steps have been taken over the last few years to address this, but clearly more needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a problem across the country. The VA has done a lot of work with the HUD-VASH program. We work with Soldier On locally. That's why I think it's important that as the Vet Center and the VA, we have partnerships with our local community organizations, because it looks a little different in each community across the country. There's no cookie cutter solution, I don't think. But when it comes to veteran homelessness, I think it is a problem, and I think we've done a lot locally to address that. From what I have seen,
and of course, City of Binghamton had a project making some housing available on Pine Street. That was a significant development.
Huge.
Right now, the county is working to complete construction on the Veteran Services Center on the north side, not far from the Binghamton Plaza. And that will effectively be sort of a one-stop location for coordinating some local veteran services if people haven't already accessed some of the services that are available. And there also will be a housing component over at that site as well, with the 10 tiny homes that are planned. So that project should be completed by, I believe, sometime next spring.
That's what I heard, yeah. We have 13, in Broome County alone, we have 13,000 veterans. And then the 9 counties that we cover in the Southern Tier, we have 40,000 veterans. I mean, there's a lot of vets out there that need help, and we have a lot of veterans that don't access services that are entitled to benefits that they deserve. So I urge everybody, give us a call, give your local VA veteran service officer a call and find out what you're eligible for.
One of the biggest initiatives, ongoing efforts to help veterans is suicide prevention. And
Absolutely.
that is, it's important year round, and certainly this week and this month there's a special focus on suicide prevention.
Yeah. We talk a little bit about, our partnerships with our community. We work really closely with the BC Safe program, and a lot of the suicide prevention coalitions at the county level. And we work with the VA healthcare program, and we sit on these committees and we participate. One of the big things, the passing of the Compact Act in 2023 provides immediate, emergent suicide, mental health counseling, I guess, inpatient, up to 30 days free inpatient and 90 days outpatient for any veteran that's experiencing thoughts of suicide. They do have to have an honorable discharge and have to serve at least 2 years of active duty to access those services. But I think it's a huge step because you have a lot of vets that maybe they don't know where to go. You can go to any healthcare facility, private, government funded, whatever, get the services that you need, and get yourself taken care of. I tell any veteran that even if you're having any thoughts, please talk to somebody. That's the most important thing. 988, call 988, press 1, and you'll get some help. So it's a pretty serious. I take it very seriously. My worst fear is losing somebody on my watch, and anybody shouldn't be ashamed to talk about it. So
well, and it's a tough thing to say if someone is experiencing perhaps thoughts of hopelessness or helplessness. Whether it's a friend or a relative or a colleague, sometimes it's even hard to know what to do or what to say to try to address the issues without making things worse.
Absolutely. And there's lots of training out there that's available, and if anybody's interested in any of that training and taking that training, I can connect them with that. Cornell Cooperative has usually holds a mental health first aid class there. We have a bunch of different trainings through the VA. In 2021, we lost 6,392 veterans to suicide. 6,042 were male and 139 were female. Not 139, correction. 350 were female. In New York alone, we lost 139 veterans in 2021. So, it is an issue, and the VA has done a lot to address it and try to, prevent suicide. Their suicide prevention program at the VA Medical Center is phenomenal. Great staff that work there, and they're very engaged with local communities in trying to, mitigate this problem. It's a, public health issue that's been going on for a while. So,
the Binghamton Veterans Center is involved in many events throughout the year, and you have any specific events that are coming up?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. Last year we kicked off our Binghamton Hometown Heroes in partnership with the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group in the city of Binghamton. We installed 10 banners, honoring some of our local heroes on the Bevere Street Bridge. This year we're looking at doing that again. We want to get up to 25, and we're looking at the location on Front Street just before you get to Otsoningo Park there. So anybody that wants to, basically any former or current resident of Binghamton that's a veteran or has a family member that's a veteran that they want to honor them, would urge them to call the Binghamton Vet Center or the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group, and they can get an application through them. There's also a Facebook page, Binghamton Hometown Heroes, and they can go there and get the application as well. I would urge people to, if they are on Facebook, go to 607th Vets. That is a great place to go to find out what's going on locally in the Southern Tier for veterans. Anytime I get a flyer or, get wind of anything that's going on for veterans, I post it on that page. And on November 13th, we have our Stories of Service with the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group. That's going to be at the Cornell Cooperative Extension on Upper Front Street from 4 to 7, again on November 13th. Basically what that is a town hall for veterans to kind of come in, kind of stand up and share. Maybe they have a picture, maybe they have some type of artwork that they created while they were in, and just kind of talk a little bit about their service and, you know, what that means to them. It's a great opportunity. We have a lot of people that call our center that want to figure out, how do I support local vets? Well, this is a great event and a great way to come out and just sit and listen and show that they have support in their local community. So the more people we can fill the seats with for that event, the better. You know, and we will usually participate in the Visions Vet Expo around Veterans Day. We have a bunch of different, we cover 9 counties, so we're pretty involved in a lot of the events across the 9 counties that we cover. And a great way to find out what those are to go to that 607th Facebook page. 607 Vets, rather, Facebook page, and you can find out there what's going on.
And if people want to contact the Binghamton Vet Center, I know they can get information both online and also by calling the office on Shenango Street in downtown Binghamton.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning more about the Vet Center, definitely go to va.vetcenter.gov, and you can, you know, basically everything I've talked about is on there. Also call our center at 607-722-2393. Again, that's 607-722-2393. Any of our staff there can help you. Again, you know, feel free to call us anytime. If you call after business hours, you'll get connected with our call center. And then if it's a crisis, we'll actually help you with your crisis at the call center. So, yeah.
Well, Jason Davis with the Binghamton Vet Center at the Center Plaza building here in downtown Binghamton. Thanks for joining us on Binghamton.
Thanks for having me, Bob. I appreciate it.
It's 10:29. We'll be taking phone calls coming up. If you have thoughts about the issues, Binghamton and beyond, feel free to call us at 607-772-1290. That's 607-772-1290 if you would like to talk on this Tuesday morning on WNBF. Well, let's go back to the phones. Beverly in the town of Dickinson. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. Are you familiar that McDonald's on Upper Front Street is closed?
What? The McDonald's on Upper Front Street is not operating?
Yep. It's been closed since Friday.
Why? Why would they close the McDonald's?
I asked at the Speedway, but they're not saying nothing.
Really?
So I don't know.
Do you think they ran out of 100% American beef?
I don't know, Bob.
Oh, no.
I can't find out.
Okay. Well, that's, So what are you going to do now? Can you go to another McDonald's, or is that...
Oh, we like Wendy's.
Oh, okay. You know what? You should get one of them Baconators.
Oh, I'll try it sometime.
All right. Well, thanks for the update. Everything going okay?
Bob, I fell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I fell Saturday. I lost my balance, and my neighbor, he tried to get me up, but he couldn't get me up, so he called for help.
All right. How are you doing now? Are you doing better?
Oh, I'm sore. The social worker's coming today to see me, and my aide's here now. She's pretty nice. They've been pretty nice to me, you know, and I appreciate it. I was at the hospital overnight. They sent me home Sunday, but I'm still sore, but luckily I didn't hit my head. When I lost my balance, I put my right hand behind my head so I wouldn't hit the ground.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're recuperating. I'm sorry you fell.
Yep. So I'll let you know when they open. I don't know what's going on. I tried to ask Speedway, and they're not talking.
All right. Well, I'll look into it. Appreciate your call, and please be careful and get better.
Okay, thank you.
It's 10:35 here at WNBF, WNBF.com. Bob Joseph with you, and we can talk about all sorts of things. Of course, WNBF.com has a lot of local stories, including some original reporting. As we mentioned a while ago, we did an update on the renovation work now underway at Northgate Plaza on Upper Front Street in the town of Shenango, and had an opportunity to discuss the project with Brett Pritchard. His company has been hired to do the work. Total of 3 or 4 phases to basically do a makeover at the Northgate Plaza. So I spoke with some people who operate businesses there, Northgate Vacuum and some of the other businesses. People are excited to see the work underway. Of course, the businesses are open. They're operating, even while the work on the facade sections on the south end of the Northgate Plaza, while that work is underway. I had a chance to talk to a couple of people who were actually working there on Monday afternoon. So it's nice to see. You remember that plaza? I remember with the Barker's department store. I think that was the first big store when the Northgate Plaza opened 51 years ago, almost 51 years ago to the day, September 1973. So they had Barker's and apparently a Hills supermarket and a Carl's drugstore. I remember the Carl's drugstore. I'm not instantly recalling the Hills supermarket. I think I know exactly where it was. I just don't remember Hills. I remember Giant. I used to be able to see people at the Giant, and then they closed. Well, they can't take away our memories, right? Anyway, take a look at the project there at Northgate Plaza. We have the article at WNBF.com, including, if you haven't seen it yet, a couple of renderings and give you a sense of what the place will look like once all the work is completed. So it's nice to see the renovations underway. We have a couple of other stories in the WNBF.com pipeline that you'll find equally interesting, including some updates on things we've reported on in the past. Every once in a while I say, what's going on? Then I stop and talk to the right people and I find out what's going on. Then I pass along the information on air at 92.1 FM and 1290 AM and on our website, WNBF.com. It's 10:39. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Well, good morning to you, Bob. This is community activist in Booster, John from Binghamton. How are you today?
Thank you. We had a guy who sounded very much like you yesterday, who operated only with the promise of anonymity, but I swear he sounded very much like you, and he didn't come across as much of a community booster, but I'm glad you've received your community booster shot and now can sing the praises of the Parlor City and the entire Binghamton Metroplex.
It's great to be here. We're here between the hills and the confluence of the rivers, and I think everybody's doing a great job out there with these events and raising awareness and raising money. And it's just a wonderful place to live. I can't understand why people aren't moving here, but just everybody. I'd like to thank everybody from the mayor to the county executive to the county legislature to the Broome County District Attorney to the Broome County Sheriff's Office, back the blue. This is a wonderful place. It's a great place. I don't understand the negativity, Bob.
Well, I'm about to join you in launching a campaign. I think we're branding it It's Morning in Binghamton. And we're hiring a very powerful, we initially had hoped to hire James Earl Jones to be the voice of our new 10-year PR initiative for Morning in Binghamton. Unfortunately, James Earl Jones has left us too early, but we will find a powerful voice who will serve sort of as the person who will bring the message, the powerful message of Binghamton, not just to the people in New York and Pennsylvania or just to the people of the United States, but to the people of the world.
Oh, and I forgot to mention the university for reviving our economy with the lithium research and the battery plants. Now, a couple in Endicott, one in Johnson City. It's good to see all these people back to work and working and getting a paycheck. Thank you, Binghamton University. You've done a marvelous job. It's great. It's great. I can't believe it.
The progress, especially with the battery initiative over the last decade, has been simply shocking. Who saw this coming?
Yeah, should I knock it off now? If you have
thank you. Thanks. Switch it off,
yeah.
Man. I think we took it 2 minutes too long. But anyway, I think people get our point. Now, the real John from Binghamton will proceed with the call. Continue.
Yeah, there doesn't seem. I requested the electric bills from the public electric company, the Endicott bill, and for some reason the stall is on. And I requested the bills for IM3 New York because it's really hard to make things without electricity. So I wanted to see that's what I'm waiting for right now. But it's interesting because the Australian regulators are suing the former chairman of Magnus related to IM3. They're also investigating Magnus. Now, the interesting thing is there is no question that there were false statements coming out of IM3. Now, whether it was Magnus's doing, that they were into production and they were producing batteries and all that stuff. Now, it can't be two. I mean, either Magnus says, to IM3, you better issue these false statements, or IM3 was duping Magnus. But we have.
Do you think? And I'm serious about this. I'm asking a very serious question because you've been following the progress of the Sanity and Endicott very closely from the beginning since it was announced. So do you get a sense that there was any possible impropriety going on, or do you think that there may have just been some confusion or honest errors and misstatements? What's your personal sense? And I'll be quick to say this would only constitute your personal opinion from observing things over the last few years.
My opinion is they had, in the beginning, when they started, they had little or nothing going for them. Then the university started this, well, we've got to have businesses in-house and, office space in-house. And they just got carried away. They didn't have the elements of any kind of going business from the beginning. The university was making this push. Stanley Whittingham won a Nobel Prize, and it fed to the point where they lost control of their horse manure. And whether it was deliberate, it was used. The lies were used on grant applications. So now, they didn't get the $700 million that they were shooting for, but what's the odds? Now, Stanley Whittingham has been associated with at least two public companies. One was Magnus Energy, publicly traded in Australia. It was on the board there. And another one, a Chinese outfit that was based in Texas. He abruptly resigned from both of these boards when the heat came on. So I think it behooves Stanley Whittingham, and certainly they listened to the program up there on in the public ivory tower there, to clarify what he's doing on these boards and why he left, why he gave them a momentary prestige and put his imprimatur on their activities. So, look, it's time. There's a lot of crime in Binghamton, and it is time for the district attorney, Paul Battisti, who months ago I gave him he said he wanted information on the massage parlors, the illegal massage parlors. I gave it to him. I don't know what takes so long. But it's time for him to become fully engaged. Get every piece of paper out of the university, with IM3 New York, and see what's going on. The next thing that Paul Battisti should do is he should get a grand jury going, like only a district attorney can, the public can too, but get one going on the deaths at Willow Point. You have a county-run nursing home, you have death certificates, and you have a Governor Cuomo that has admitted to wrongdoing in this effort and altering public documents. He is not a governor. He is not a public official at this time. He should be indicted. We have 62 district attorneys. Who's going to be the first?
Well, it would be interesting. Do you think, because of questions that still do persist around policies, New York State policies that were in place for a time during the COVID pandemic, do you think if a grand jury were impaneled in Broome County that former Governor Andrew Cuomo could be compelled to appear before such a grand jury?
Choice. He has no choice. I would, and this is, this is not Jim Garrison territory. This is actual deaths. Right here in Broome County, right here at our nursing home. So, yes, we need an activist district attorney.
But isn't there a danger? It just occurred to me, wouldn't there be a risk that some people would say, including supporters of the former governor, isn't it possible they would say, oh, well, it's simply partisan maneuvering on the part of a Republican upstate district attorney trying to make some points going against the Democratic former governor?
No, that wouldn't be the case at all. There's dead bodies. These people were sent to a death camp.
So Paul Battisti wouldn't have to worry about calls at the behest of Cuomo's big supporters. And John, there still are many people who support Andrew Cuomo in New York State. Not necessarily upstate, but certainly people who persist in their belief that Andrew Cuomo essentially could do and can do no wrong. And they're also, by the way, parenthetically, working to make possible his comeback.
Well,
his comeback is already being, that's part of the strategy. That don't think for a minute that you're done kicking around Andrew Cuomo. He's going to come back. The plan is for him to come back and be bigger and more powerful than he ever was.
Well, I tend to, look, he's a great candidate. I tend to separate. When I say somebody's a great candidate, that doesn't obviously mean that I agree with anything that they say whatsoever, but there's bad candidates and there's good candidates. And Cuomo would be the presidential nominee if he didn't get involved with that Made Simple woman and all that, his whole personal life there. He would be on the ballot. There's no question that this was his time.
Do you think that his how can we put it delicately, because I don't want to make him mad, but do you think actually because he was forced to leave New York State employment early, ahead of schedule, do you think that actually, strangely enough, may have helped America from having to face a shocking, and would be a shocking, presidential campaign pitting two men from Queens, Andrew Cuomo against Donald Trump? You're sort of suggesting that could have happened had it not been for the unpleasantness that swirled around Andrew Cuomo in his final weeks and months as governor.
Well, yes. I mean, these people are obviously they're always calculating. This is what's wrong with politics. My concept, what I thought was going to happen is Schumer and Cuomo and Trump were going to work together for the betterment of New York. And, you couldn't have any more powerful people in New York's corner. But they didn't. They wanted to destroy Donald John Trump, a victim, by the way, this is to a prior caller, an obvious victim of election fraud. I have never seen a presidential candidate, any kind of tote board on TV, where the actual totals showed a discrepancy, and where votes that were on the board came off. I mean, it would be like Jerry Lewis on the telethon, $28 million.
I was just about to make that analogy. You and I were thinking along the same lines. I was thinking, the Labor Day telethon. So they announced 1 hour that they've raised $38,600,000, and then oddly enough, the next hour the tally mysteriously is down to $31 million. You do have to ask, wait, are they using lithium-ion batteries developed in Endicott for the calculator?
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
Look, And again, it was Joe Biden's faux pas. You may remember that. We are going to conduct the biggest voter fraud, and then he said turnout operation in history. Again, you're talking about certain counties in certain swing states. You're talking about 120,000 votes. For Matt Ryan to sit there and say with a straight face, God bless his heart, I love the guy, for him to say that there's no evidence of voter fraud, I mean, why? Look, I can't understand that. Somebody likes the Red Sox, somebody likes the Yankees. I mean, to dispute what's on the field, to dispute that the Yankees have better bats or the Boston Red Sox have better pitching is a fool's errand. This election was stolen from Donald Trump, just like, I might add, just like the Bushes stole the election from Al Gore. So just like Kennedy's people stole the election from Richard Nixon.
See, there's a rich history of stolen elections in the U.S. Appreciate your call. Keep me posted. If you see something, say something, okay?
Tuncanic today.
Okay. 10:53 at WNBF. Again, we cover the issues if you have thoughts, and certainly, everybody is welcome to call. Once a day, 607-772-1290. You're listening to Binghamton Now. 10:56, trouble in Horseheads. Trouble in Horseheads. The flash apparently official, and this is from the website of WETM, mytwintiers.com. Morning travelers on I-86 were met with a fiery scene after a tractor trailer crashed and caught fire and cut off normal traffic, forced a detour. This all happened about 6:30 this morning. A semi-truck pulling a trailer collided with a guide rail on 86 eastbound in Horseheads. Smoke and flames were visible in the darkness as the truck traveled dozens of yards away from the initial contact point before it stopped, leaving a trail of fire and a fireball on the cab. So, I-86. Eastbound. Trouble. Big trouble. We'll keep you posted if we get more information right here at News Radio, WNBF. 607-772-1290. And you, too, can contribute to America's most intriguing talk program. It's very intriguing to me, the way this program works. Someday I'll write a book. Explain. I'll elaborate. The behind the scenes, the never told story. Never before have you been treated to the behind the scenes elements of America's most intriguing radio program. Taking a closer look at that vehicle crash in Horseheads, Interstate 86. So according to the WETM account, when the sun came up, the truck was still smoking. Emergency crews were surrounding the scene. Traffic was diverted and slowed, and it was clear both the truck and the trailer were heavily damaged in the fire. The police told WETM the driver was alive and was being treated for injuries. And at least one lane was closed. Now it looks like traffic can get by there, but it was not a good time early this morning. That crash apparently occurred at about 6:30. WENY also has a picture of a trailer with the branding Central Transport, big yellow trailer. Not totally destroyed, but certainly scorched. The outside of the trailer, and apparently the front portion looked pretty well burnt up. It's unclear what, if anything, was in the trailer, but based on some of the pictures circulating, looks like the fire really was roaring for a time. Interstate 86 in Horseheads, about 5 hours ago. It's 11:14 at WNBF. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Gary from the South Side.
Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hey, how do you feel about Elon Musk?
I think he's entitled to buy as much stuff as he can afford.
Well, it looks to me like he's buying Mark Marlonado.
Why? What makes you think that Elon Musk has any interest in the 19th District congressional race in New York State?
Well, according to Bloomberg here, this just came out, Musk pours money into New York races, critical to House GOP win. And his PAC is what it's called here anyhow. They're going to pour money into Mark Marlonado. He's backing him.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm not surprised. Yeah. Okay, I see this story now from the Bloomberg, yeah. They posted that just a few hours ago. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's I would not feign surprise at it. I had not heard this till now. So this is what Bloomberg says. His super political action committee will funnel $2.1 million to Republican candidates in battleground districts across the country. You're right. Mentions here in New York, he's supporting Congressman Mike Lawler in Westchester, and also Marcus Molinaro here in the 19th District, Binghamton area, and a few other counties nearby. But so I look at that amount of money. At first, you say $2.1 million from what they're calling a super PAC. I'm saying $2.1 million. Elon Musk is getting paid his pay package this year. I think we already said from the CBS story is worth $46 billion. That's all he can cough up for candidates he supports. $2.1 million.
Well, you got Trump keeping all the money on the national level there. His daughter-in-law, they're not sending any money down to Mark. They're not giving them the money. They're disappearing.
I wonder why. It seems like
Trump is pocketing it. Trump is putting it in his pocket.
Oh, I can't believe for a minute that Donald Trump and his family would go so far as to pocket money for themselves as opposed to supporting other like-minded candidates. Come on, Gary.
Well, I just think that I think it just illustrates that Mark Molinaro is a full MAGA. Like I said a couple of days ago, he obviously is very important to Trump and to Elon Musk. So I'm glad he's working for them and not us.
If Elon Musk calls in, I'm going to ask him specifically why he is pouring money into 2 New York State congressional districts. I think it would be a good question. I'll ask Mark Molinaro the next time he's on, too, what he thinks about getting the support from Elon Musk and his super PAC.
Well, I think, that would go back to what Walt said. Mind your own business. I don't need Elon Musk deciding, who my next representative is going to be here.
Well, Elon Musk. Thank you. Elon Musk has already worked his magic on Twitter. It is kind of sad. And on the other hand, that's the way the world works. It's not a question of whether it's fair. Nobody ever said the world is fair. The world is run by the people with the most money. So if you don't like the way Elon Musk or other billionaires are running the world, well, go out and make more money and you too would have a chance to run the world. But if you're only a millionaire, or if you're like most of us, just enjoying life with a modest amount of money, you're not going to run the world, but it's probably just as well. Do you really want to run the world? Nah. You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want Elon Musk's troubles. Wrecking Twitter, wrecking Tesla. Running Twitter and running Tesla. You wouldn't want to have those troubles. It's 11:19 on WNBF. Let's take more calls from America. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob. It's Bob from Port Dickinson.
Hey, Bob. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to let you and your listeners know I'm giving you a run for your money on Wednesdays at 6 over at WHRW 90.5.
Oh, really? And what do you call the program?
We call it The World According to Bob and Andy.
Yeah.
It's news and commentary from 6 to 7. WHRW 90.5. It's Wednesday evenings this semester. This is our third, semester of doing this over across the river. I want to credit you for counseling me and getting me involved in this. Thank you.
Well, I encourage everybody to get their own talk show. If you can get a talk show, I highly recommend it. I know I had some conversations with you in the past to encourage you to move forward with your hope of doing a local show. And I have to say, I think this is about the best thing anybody can do. I am so gratified that I've had this opportunity for a long time. And personally, I wish there were a lot of local talk shows. I wish WNBF was in a position to have more local talk shows, because I think you appreciate, or can appreciate, and I hope most of our listeners appreciate, this is, and I'm not complaining, but it's an awesome burden to be the only local talk show, daily talk show right now in the Binghamton area, because then people have no other options. Say they don't like my worldview or they don't appreciate my attitude. They can't go to, say, another local talk show from 3 to 6 this afternoon on WNBF. That would be the ideal. It's just at this point not sustainable. So again, I encourage everybody to get a local talk show if you're able to.
Well, you can grab a breather, folks, from the 9 to noon, and then the onslaught that happens from the national media on, and take us for a ride 6 to 7 Wednesday. We do a little call-in as well. We're happy to have commentary and opinion from local folks. But it is amazing to me as well, Bob, that with a campus population of maybe 18,000 students, the public affairs division of that station, which is just what it sounds like, public affairs, is scant with almost no participation. We're the only group, really, Andy and I, that do a news commentary, and that's in the prime time, and it wasn't even, that difficult to get your hands on. These kids want to do music and that kind of thing, so we were thrilled to get the opportunity. I cutting my teeth in the medium and trying to put on a good give a good product so that people are inclined to participate and call in. So we encourage that to happen. It's local radio, and I learned from the best. I've listened to it my whole life. I listened to you, to Rush, all of them from WABC and Cousin Brucey on forward. So kudos to all of you, especially you, Bob, for your encouragement in the past, and you're coming to speak to our group once, and you've been very gracious and very helpful, and I want to publicly thank you for that and encourage people to not only participate in your show, but to give us a try as well.
Well, Bob, I wish you the best.
Thanks very much, Bob. I'll be listening.
Okay. Have a great day and a great program. 11:23 at WNBF. More voices, more perspectives. That's what this world needs. This country needs more perspectives. The world needs more perspectives. And do your best. Do your best to stay informed. Do your best to listen carefully and to think critically about everything, about local issues or state issues or national issues. It's 11:23 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
John.
Oh, John from the Binghamton Plaza. You are the property manager at the West State Street complex. Good morning.
Good morning. I just want to inform you that the city is here cleaning my homeless camp out for me out back that moved over from Robinson Street. So.
Oh, really?
They're out here cleaning it all up. You know?
So who did they send over? The police or Public Works or a combination of people?
Public Works, a whole bunch of Public Works. They pulled the trailer out yesterday over the weekend. Now the Public Works Department is over here cleaning all the mess up.
All right.
So,
did the police initially come in to provide any kind of assistance or counseling or supervision? Did you see police or only Public Works?
Yeah, I believe the police moved them out of here over the weekend, and now Public Works is here cleaning the mess up. So.
All right. So
I appreciate you bringing it up because it got done after I called you.
Well, I suspected that it could happen, and for those who didn't hear your initial call, about how many people would you estimate had been staying in that space along the river? About a dozen or so?
A dozen. They had a camper down there, a big old camp. Everything from Robinson Street, they moved over here, and there's just so much garbage. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, after you called, I stopped by to see for myself. I didn't talk to people. I try to respect privacy, and it didn't seem really appropriate for me to go and have a chat with the people, but I did take a picture just to document the scene that you described, and again, as sometimes happens when people bring an issue into the spotlight on this program, sometimes action is taken. I'm not suggesting that necessarily that's the case. You know, that by your being on the program a few days ago that made the difference, but I don't think it hurt.
No, it didn't hurt. Well, you've seen the mess I had back there, so
yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank
well,
you.
John,
I'll keep you informed. Thanks.
Yeah, I depend on you and everybody else to serve as my eyes and ears. What's going on around the Triple Cities? You can always call us if you have a specific concern. Sometimes, depending on the nature of things, sometimes you can't be really specific on air. Sometimes you may have to actually put your specific information in an email to me, bob@WNBF.com. Every case is unique, but it's important. Sometimes it's important for me to get specific information, say, off the air, and then look into it. So you can always, if you have a situation, and I have to emphasize this, because of just the volume of things that go on around here, I cannot necessarily do something about every tip or every situation that I learn about. I do my best to check out things, sometimes specifically, as was the case in the area of the Binghamton Plaza, between the Binghamton Plaza and the Shenango River. I did go over a few minutes after the program that day just to observe the situation, not to insert myself into it. 'Cause to be clear, it didn't really seem appropriate for me to uninvited just start talking with people. But at any rate, we do our best to kind of keep people posted. Email. This is from Jesse in Owego. So it's Elon Musk. Oh, the subject line, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? Good question.
What difference at this point does it make?
So Jesse from Owego poses this question. So is Elon Musk any different than George Soros? Not in my opinion. It's influencing the election no matter what it does. Am I right? Well, to an extent you're right. The thing with Elon Musk being the richest smart aleck in the world, Elon Musk, as the world's most powerful person, and I say he's the world's most powerful person because he has the most money. That's how we gauge it. So since he has the most money and therefore the most power, he's going to get his own way a lot of times. So, yeah, and basic question, is Musk a lot different than Soros? Not a lot, except George Soros is a pauper compared to Elon Musk. So George Soros can try to influence elections in the United States, but George Soros doesn't have the same kind of pure financial power that Elon Musk does. Look, if Elon Musk wants something, and I'm not going to give examples, I'll just say this. Generally speaking, if Elon Musk wants something, he can probably get it. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but as a rule of thumb, if Elon Musk wants it, he can probably get it. Now, he wanted Twitter, and he got Twitter. And he has managed to do his best to wreck Twitter. It's not completely a smoldering wreck yet, but it could be soon if he keeps it up. He's doing his best to wreck everything that Twitter stood for. Why? Because he could. Because he had money. He wanted to buy Twitter for the power that it gives him. And, if he's not careful, he's going to actually lose his entire investment because he's been foolish in the way he has handled Twitter since he acquired it. But as the world's most powerful and the world's richest person, he's well within his rights to do it. Apparently not against the law. It's 11:30 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. This is Vinny from Binghamton.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment, kind of continue what we were talking about yesterday. I hope one of your callers is listening. Actually, I'll say him as Rob from Port Crane. Rob, you asked a question, and I truly believe I agree with you about toning down the rhetoric. And but it's really hard when you hear what what you heard Trump say yesterday about now blaming these assassination attempts on Joe Biden, the Democrats, and Kamala Harris. It's really hard when you get this dude from South Africa named Elon Musk, and when he comes out and puts on his Twitter about why hasn't anybody tried to assassinate President Joe Biden or Vice President Kamala Harris, and then he took it down. I don't know what these jackasses need to know and understand what's going on in this country. I really don't. And it comes from the same thing, and then they try to turn around and blame the Democrats. Bob, this is just insane. That's why after this election, somebody's going to jail. Somebody's going to jail. And I've said this from the beginning. What would that really serve to have Donald Trump? Yeah, he's going. And I put him in there for 1 year. because this is all we've heard.
Why? Why should he be in jail for a year?
Because when he gets out, then he can go and go to that trial in Georgia, where we got him on the calling to see if that representative can find him 3,000 votes. That's why. That's why. We're sick of this stuff. These election deniers. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
I'll tell you what shocked me, and I'm very, very difficult to shock anymore, Vinny. The bar is really high. I will say this. I used to say nothing surprises me anymore. The truth is sometimes I am surprised, and here's one thing that surprised me. And I'll even say I was shocked by it, because here we have J.D. Vance, who many people think is great American.
Mm-hmm.
So listen to what J.D. Vance said, and I have to admit, I was surprised and shocked and disappointed. He, of course, as many of us have been doing, he's called for a reduction, and I'm quoting here, in the ridiculous and inflammatory political rhetoric coming from too many corners of our politics. So no problem with that. I wholeheartedly support that statement. A reduction in the ridiculous and inflammatory political rhetoric coming from too many quarters of our politics. So that should have been just period, full stop. But then, speaking to a group in Atlanta, he said this.
No one has tried to kill Kamala Harris in the last couple of months, and 2 people now have tried to kill Donald Trump in the last couple of months. I'd say that's pretty strong evidence that the left needs to tone down the rhetoric and needs to cut this crap out. Somebody's going to get hurt by it.
So I don't know who's advising J.D. Vance, but just the first part of that statement, and for those whose radios weren't tuned in, listen just to the first part of the statement. I'm only going to play the first sentence, and I'm going to ask whether it's J.D. Vance who could be listening today using the free WNBF app, or Donald Trump, or Kamala Harris, or Tim Walz, or anybody. I'm going to ask, in all seriousness, is this appropriate for a candidate in the national election, a presidential or vice presidential candidate, to say something like this in public?
No one has tried to kill Kamala Harris in the last couple of months, and 2 people now have tried to kill Donald Trump in the last couple of months.
He could make the same point without saying what he said in the first part of that sentence, because some people who aren't thinking straight might take it the wrong way. I understand the point J.D. Vance was making with the statement, and it's factual. But I believe that statement was totally inappropriate.
Bob, this is what they do. They try to be slick. Okay, this guy, he's just a slick snake. And he tries to do this, and then they add on something. It's crazy. It's crazy. Even around here, we've got, now I don't want to say this, but I got to say it. It's amazing how some of these people around here that are Trump supporters can go after Paul Battisti, and they can go after Akshar and talk about the evilness and the nonsense that these guys are doing, and then they turn around and they want to support this guy. You want to talk about inconsistent? It is the craziest thing. And they sit there, yep, and then when you prove them wrong, they just walk away. Well, I guess I was wrong. These are like leftover George Bush supporters, still looking for weapons of mass destruction. It is the craziest thing. And that's why I can't just hurry up and get this election so we can get this guy out of here. And he can go back, and if he's in jail, you guys, you Trumpers, you can go visit him. Get on a bus, go on down there, put your Trump stickers and bumpers and flags, go on down there and visit him. And then give him just 1 year, though, just 1 year in jail. And I would come out the next day, Bob, after the election, that guy, because that's what they're waiting for, is I'm going to give you my verdict. And then I'm going to wait till after election. He loses, I'd come right out with it. Yep, 1 year in jail.
All right. Well, I disagree, but I understand the point you're making. One thought about putting Donald Trump in jail, whether it's for 1 minute or 1 year, Whenever he's released, then he's going to simply parlay it into making even more money, even while he's being held. His machine will use his incarceration, even if it's for 1 second. As soon as they get a picture of him, an undoctored image of him behind bars, they're going to be able to make so much more money off it. Sounds cynical for me to say, and maybe I'm being overly cynical, but I almost suspect that he wants to be sentenced to time in jail or prison. Maybe not necessarily a year, maybe 30 days on Front Street in the town of Dickinson. I don't know. I just have this gut feeling he wants to be put behind bars for a certain amount of time so he can get some pictures and put it out online and send it to the people on his email list so he can make more millions off it. And put those images on coffee mugs and T-shirts the same way that his image wound up on T-shirts and coffee mugs when they released his mugshot. It's 11:39. I'm Bob Joseph. What do you think? 607-772-1290. This is Binghamton Now. Joshua in Vestal. Good morning. You're on the air. Oh, lost Josh. Vic from the Forks. Good morning. You're on the air.
What's going on with the phone company?
Wait. Phone company hasn't been right since New York Telephone went out of business.
They used to be over there on Hawley Street.
Yeah, over on Henry Street. And the great thing is, one time they actually had an open house there. They invited people into the phone company to see how they connect all the calls. Now you try to get into that building on Henry Street, and you're going to be arrested.
All right, let me get to the point of my phone call. First, I want you to remember this part. I was against the state legalization and sale of marijuana. I believe it should have been kept criminal. And behold, let whatever happens, happens. Now, just remember I said that. Now, I want to respond to Vinny. He sounded very loud and very angry about, and you did too, about these death threats or references to death threats or assassination attempts and stuff like that. But I don't remember anybody, you or Vinny, saying anything about Kathy Griffin holding up a beheaded Trump head or people calling for his death in the streets and hanging effigies of him at riots and protests and things like that. I never seen him do this with Biden or Harris or Jimmy Carter or anybody. The way I've seen this over the last 8 years of Trump. So I think people got to back off and just ignore. If they don't understand the statements, just ignore it. Don't call in your show about it.
No. Don't ignore them, and certainly call the show anytime you hear a statement about someone. And I'm not going to repeat what J.D. Vance said. That was deplorable. I hope he's come to regret it, but I'll be anxiously awaiting his apology today for his inarticulate phrasing.
Well, like you said, you understand the point he was making.
No, I understand the point. There were ways for him to make the same point without saying what he did.
But, I don't think when people talk from the heart, sometimes the heart just spills out.
Sorry, he's running to be vice president. He'll be a heartbeat away from the presidency if Americans vote for Donald Trump on November 5th. So J.D. Vance, just from that statement alone, in my opinion, showed he doesn't have the IQ. I mean, if you would go and say before a group of people in Atlanta what he said last night, he doesn't seem to have the basic intelligence needed to be the most powerful person on the planet.
I tend to disagree with you.
Okay, you're entitled.
back to the marijuana statement that I made, I do believe that people suffering from TDS should apply for a marijuana card and get a free prescription because they're off the wall with these accusations. I would like to sit down with Vinny and Matt and a couple other your anti-Trumpers. And I don't smoke pot, but I'm willing to buy it and sit in a circle and smoke it with them and have the same discussion you and I are having now while they're high as hell, because they need to mellow out. All of America needs to mellow out with all this hate against each other's party. I think Joe Biden said it best when he was running for election. He said we need to come together as Americans. Even though he didn't mean it and he drove us apart even further, he was right. We need to come together as Americans, and we need to work on the problems and the issues in this country. We need to shut the borders down. We need to deport the immigrants, especially the ones that are, like your news station said, are or may be caught voting illegally. We need to make sure we have fair and safe elections. We need to make sure that we have equal, not 2,000 ballot watchers to 400 in one state, which was sued by the Republican Party. There's so much corruption in politics today. The average American person feels like he can do nothing, so they do nothing. But it's not true. They can do everything. Just get off your butts and vote. I don't care what party you vote for. If everybody voted, then we would have a better country. We would have a country based on the vote, on the electoral vote as well, because that's just as important. It gives power to all states, not just to New York and California. So I got to go, Bob. I got a visitor.
All right.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Vic. 11:47. All views are heard on this program. Jesse and Owego, you're on the air.
I remember, well, not that I was a witness, but back in the day, if two politicians didn't get along, they would go out in the courthouse square and they would hold a duel.
Yeah, that was about the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Well, whoever survives, I guess.
That's about the dumbest thing. I know I heard that used to happen. I can't believe that was ever permitted.
Well, apparently the country didn't seem like they were worried about it.
Well, they should have been. Under no circumstances should there ever be a duel.
Well, it makes me wonder what's going to happen next.
Well, that's my point. Just the fact that you bring it up is disturbing on its face. That anybody would be talking about a duel in 2024?
Oh, anymore, Bob, anything goes.
No, that's not true. Anything doesn't go, and anything won't go. And there won't be any duels, and we're going to knock off the violence. The real violence and the virtual violence. Enough already.
You were just talking about Ma Bell and what happened there back in the day. The government forced her to change her gender. That's what happened, and there's the breakup.
Yeah, well, I don't think that was the primary problem. Well, we don't have time to go into the trouble with our telephone technology. Anyway, appreciate the call.
You have a great day.
Thanks, Jesse. It's 11:49. More calls are coming up on my favorite program, Binghamton Now. You're listening to WNBF, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Again, let me spell it out for you as simply as I can. WNBF, where news breaks first. That WNBF. On air and also online at WNBF.com. More calls, more often. Steve from Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, good morning to you. I have a tendency to agree with Vic, your last caller, especially about getting on Trump. Yes, some of the things that he says, I don't agree with either. It brings out a little hatred, but as a person, I think he wants to bring this country together. They've been after this guy the moment he went down the escalator to run for president. How would anybody else feel? They've been after him, his family. He's been shot almost twice. This man, they want to get rid of this guy for some reason, and the reason is I think he's pulling for America. I also believe that he's pulling for the middle-class people, and he does want to bring the country together. That's how I feel about it. I love his policies. His policies are extremely well, especially the last 4 years when he was in. So I think he's going to bring this country together. And if he doesn't make it, I think we're in a world of help here. That's how I feel.
Well, I appreciate your call. Thanks for calling in, Steve.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. 1153 WNBF. Feel free to call. This is a program unlike the rest. I know you're saying, but Bob, what about the rest of the programs? Hey, they all have their place in the media infrastructure. But do ask yourself, how come those programs don't allow such a wide array of views? Ask yourself that someday when you're driving around saying, wait a second, this program sounds like it's all operated from one worldview all the time. Yeah, why do they do that? 1154 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob. It's Dave again.
Wait. Didn't you call already?
Yeah, earlier.
Okay. Tomorrow will be... Tomorrow. The callers will call again tomorrow. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Rita from Johnson City.
Morning, Rita. What's on your mind?
Well, I just have a couple of responses to the last couple of callers, but we've had so much of violence and hatred. We never had that until Donald Trump became president. I don't think we ever had all this negativity, anything like that, until Donald Trump became president. And his rhetoric and everything he spews out of his mouth is negative. That's just my opinion.
So you're telling me that you think that Donald Trump is largely responsible for the current climate in yes. American politics.
Yes, we never had that. The Bushes, Kennedys, Barack Obama, we never, ever had anything like this until he became president.
No, what about Jimmy Carter?
No, never. We had gentlemen. They were men. We're having it's just so different since he became president. And his followers are just like him.
All right. Well, I appreciate your call. Thank you, Rita.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
It's 11:56 at News Radio, WNBF.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I can't imagine Jimmy Carter. Like, close your eyes, if you will. Unless you're driving, then open your eyes and pay attention to your driving. If you're in your easy chair or even in the confines of your office, just for a moment, close your eyes and imagine James Earl Carter, who was President of the United States for a short time, for 4 years after Gerald Ford left office. Imagine, if you will, and we could do this with AI, but we won't, but imagine if we used AI to change this phrase into Jimmy Carter's voice.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Imagine if Jimmy Carter said that when he was president. You can't, because Jimmy Carter isn't that type of person. I bet in nearly 100 years of living in America and serving our military proudly, I'd say it's a pretty safe bet that Jimmy Carter never said something like that. Oh, I'm sure there were times when James Earl Carter was angry at people, and there may have been times where he did some things that he came to regret. But I, for one, can't even imagine Jimmy Carter, or even Richard Milhouse Nixon or Lyndon Johnson saying something like that. Certainly not in public. That's all the time we have. I'm Bob Joseph. I hope you have a peaceful and tranquil afternoon. Remember, violence has no place in American politics. I'll be back tomorrow morning right here on WNBF.